Alright, hi guys, it's Advanced with Tag Gaming, and this is going to be a video on overclocking with EVGA's Precision X OC. So this software is somewhat new to me because of problems with Gigabyte in the past. Is like with their 980 and stuff like that. I had a 980 Ti, I had 680s, two 970s. I never clocked with the utilities because the utilities would always have problems and wouldn't even install. So I just ran the card as they were. But when it came to the 1080s, they came out with new software, and the software worked, and it was a little buggy or something like that. For the most part, it worked, and their software had options to go in and make adjustments like EVGA's Precision X did. But their software mainly also had some key factors to where you could just hit OC mode, turbo mode for fans and things like that. So I pretty much just used that. But I was having problems with the 1080s to where they were failing within 30 days or just under 30 days, and decided not to get it. Was planning on switching over to EVGA. Just the cards look really nice. They have a really good customer satisfaction level, even though they might have some minor issues, and they did mess up with not putting thermal tape on their 1080s, which is such a weird thing to try to save a buck at. You'd think on these cards that if the card seemed okay with all the testing and no thermal tape, that they would go ahead and just put it on anyways to get that just a little bit extra, especially for like the price points of their flagship cards. But anyhow, I had a Gigabyte Aorus 1080 Ti. Really wasn't caring for the way it looked. The bird was okay on the back, but I got the card because EVGA decided to come out with their cards 30 days later and pre-order because of manufacturing or something. They were still working out in details, and the Aorus cards seemed to perform pretty good. On the utility, I used their OC mode, and they had a new Aorus utility versus their Extreme utility for the regular cards. And their utility had the OC mode, which obviously I'm going to buy a flagship high-end card, and I'm going to hit OC mode and run the card in OC mode. But their fan profiles, they didn't have a turbo on the Aorus software like they did on the Extreme, and they just had a basic fan profile. And to tell you the truth, I didn't want to mess with going in and tweaking the card, because sometimes the tweaks would work and not work, and you could boot up and the tweak would be half working, partially working, or only certain aspects would be working. So it's like I might as well leave almost everything in auto and just hit the OC mode, if you know what I mean. Because if the software doesn't properly load up in the card, then what if it messes with the fans not loading or something like that, but it overclocks the card? So just something that I didn't want to deal with. Now, when I got the EVGA 1080 Ti, I didn't want to use, I wanted to use their utility pretty much, even though I could use MSI Afterburner, which I'm not familiar with, and I have downloaded it, looked at it, and was like, whoa, dude, I'm about to watch a tutorial on this. So I just went with EVGA's software. It's their card, right? It should be the best performing software per their card because it's designed to go with their card. So I watched a few videos, like, you know, Jay's 2 cents and maybe somebody else or something like that, a little bit, and they kind of cover some basics, but they don't really go into detail on some things. And I don't know, their videos are okay, they're a little bit informational, but I felt like that I still had to learn some things on my own. And even I think I clicked EVGA's link on YouTube to watch it, and they didn't cover some basics. So I said, you know what, anybody who's new to EVGA and Precision X might want to save some time and watch this tutorial or do what I did. Now, my card, my first EVGA 1080 Ti actually had a defect on it. It was a minor one, but it was bugging me, and I knew if I bought the card, which I usually buy most things from Newegg.com, is that I can pretty much send it back and get a new one right away. I've been buying from Newegg for a long time, and build a lot of systems through them. So if I call them up, say I got an issue, they, you know, send me a label, they ship me a new one, the new one gets here, I put the old one in a box, put the label on, and ship it back. They call it advanced return or something like that, which is nice, because it really pisses me off when you buy something, just like the Aorus 1080 Ti. The card crapped out right after 30 days with some coil line, some massive coil line I've never heard before, and it would not do it at idle, but it'd do it anytime any load was on it. And I called Gigabyte and went through the customer service thing and left a review, and all these people were like, hey, call us, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, you're almost 30 days to getting a new card with Gigabyte. So wouldn't that just piss you off to buy a brand new card for about almost 800 bucks and then have it crap out and then have to go 3-4 weeks just to get another one and to wait for approvals and through the shipping process? It should not be. I mean, if you have their top of the line card, it should be tested, it should be ready to go with no issues. Maybe they're lower end cards, it's not cost effective for them to test all of them, they just want to put them together and ship them out. But I think their enthusiast grade top of the end cards should have some kind of quality control on them and some testing, just because it's their flagship card. And that's kind of what, you know, when I look at Gigabyte and I have their flagship card and I see problems, then it just tells me that Gigabyte doesn't have their stuff together, at least with their GPUs. Maybe their motherboards, I don't know. I don't use their motherboards. The only motherboards I use are Asus Republic of Gamer series, and I've been using Asus even before they had Republic of Gamer boards, and that's all I use. And I pretty much have never had any problems except maybe one bad board right when I got it, which Newegg turned around got me one right away. And maybe something like a fan header wasn't working on one of them, where I just said, screw it, I'll use a different one. But anyhow, so enough with on and on to why we're here and the different things I've experienced, some problems. Which, if you've experienced any problems or you've had some frustrations with some manufacturers, you know, go ahead, leave a comment, say what you've run into, and let's see how many people prefer or have had what problems or seen what issues. I believe most issues are probably similar, except something that might be done in shipping, which you can't hold against the manufacturer if the card got damaged in shipping, or really you shouldn't, unless they packaged it extremely poorly. And that's another thing on packaging too. You know, I like to get a product that is sealed. EVGA, it came sealed, shrink wrapped. It had little round tabs on it, sealing it. Yeah, you know, pretty much looks like, and I'm pretty much confident that nobody's touched the card since it left the factory. Gigabyte's Aorus 1080 Ti, there's no shrink wrap around it. There's no little plastic circle tabs or stickers covering it. It's like, you know, the only place there is a sticker is on the actual card itself, as far as the foil it's wrapped into. The static bag, whatever, I forget what it's called. But on with this. So going through the videos and learning different things like that, and getting back to pretty much what happened with me in my first EVGA 1080 Ti. Again, my second one is my first 1080 Ti. Out the box, it was a lottery GPU, so I had a hard time returning that and had to think about it for about a week before I decided to send it back because of an LED defect. But I have my case has got a window in it, and I'm looking right at it, and to see that LED defect is just on a brand new card I just got is it's kind of pissed me off. Not to mention that knowing Newegg will advanced RMA me a new card, and I can use that till I get the other card, then swap it out. But that card, out of the box, it was a winner. Just like my Aorus 1080 Ti, the GPU on it, they both ran themselves really good and welcome. This second card by EVGA, the 1080 Ti, it does not boost itself. I don't know if it's like the boost got left out of this card or what, but it just does not boost itself very well. As a matter of fact, I hit this little K button down here. The other card took itself to 2038 megahertz. I clicked this one here, it takes itself to 1997. I was like, Well, I did manage though to get the card stable at clocks of 2063, or actually 2076, over playing with the software. But I found out that there was a kind of a process to it, and a little bit of a learning phase, and that's why I'm here right now, is to help anybody out that's been frustrated or having problems with overclocking their GPU with this software. One of the things I found is that in this software, you're pretty much going to want to leave the voltage to 0 when you start out. Go ahead, take the power and the temperature targets and just push them all the way up. I really haven't seen much of an impact with that. I leave it on target power because I feel like that the card will never reach a temperature of 90 Celsius, and I would rather have the power target be more considered and regulated, just like voltage. You know, you don't want your card to be erratic with voltage and power and things like that. You want to be consistent, and the temperatures are going to fluctuate anyways because of the load on the GPU. So I just left it like that. Now, one of the things I found with the GPU clock offset, the best thing to do is keep your memory, whoa, it's 0. I didn't even knew it went to negative, or I didn't recall. Let's get that to 0. Alright, is work with your GPU clock offset. What you want to do is, I would recommend off the get-go, is put it to 100. And this thing's really touchy, but you can use the arrow keys once you click on it to get it right to where you want it. I would apply that, click apply, go over here and right click on this twice till it re-highlights. That will save what you're at as a profile, so that once you lock in that profile, if it crashes, you got to reboot. That profile is still there, and you kind of know where you started at and where you're at. Run your benchmark like Heaven. I would say it would be, you know, you can run 3D Mark Time Spy, but 3D Mark Time Spy will go through the first whole phase before it even gets to GPU test 1 or 2 every single time, almost within reason of what the car's clocked to, and won't crash till you get there. Where Heaven would be a little bit quicker, as it will pretty much crash right off the get-go or in phase. It'll be quicker crash, so you can move along quicker and faster as far as finding your overclock. So go to 100. Now, if 100 doesn't make it, go into increments of either break it to like 5, like go to 95, or go to 90, but I would say the best bet is actually, I just went in increments of 25 to lock it down, to tell you the truth. I went to 100. I know what 100 is overall with the GPU clock, and I know what the Aorus's overclock was, so I kind of had a general idea of what the Aorus's overclock and Gigabyte configured their card to run at, which was pretty much the max, versus going with one of the other manufacturers. I forget what they're called right now. I'm spacing it, no biggie. But the point is, do increments and lock them in. So if it fails at 100, then bring it down. So mine will actually go probably to 89, which is just, for me, is a kind of weird number. So I just went to 85. So I like to round things up or down. That seemed like a good range. And if it's stable at 89 or 88 or 87, might as well just drop it down a couple megahertz and make it even more stable. Because what I'm going to show you is going to benefit a lot, as far as being able to push that GPU clock offset even more, but not by moving the GPU clock, but by the voltage. And that was surprising for me, because what I was running into is that I would clock the GPU and get that locked in, the memory, and get them locked in, and then it wouldn't budge anymore, and I really didn't want to mess with the voltage. But from what I was told, even though the warning on there says careful messing with the voltage when you scroll over it, is that the voltage works a little bit different with the Pascal GPUs, and the voltage kind of kicks in earlier than later if you have the voltage moved up. And that was off of Jay's 2 cents, what he said. So if he's correct, then we're all good. And back onto what I was going to go with. So lock in your GPU, get the benches to where it's stable. And I also recommend, once you think that GPU is stable and everything's good, and you go through heaven, then do 3D Mark Time Spy. That makes it reboot, everything locked in, and go in and play one of your games and see if it stays stable. Because I found out that I would go through all the benchmarks, everything would pass, and then I went to play Battlefield 1, and into about 45 minutes to an hour, it crashed. So that's where I took it down from 90 to 85. Even though I did try to lock it in down to the single megahertz, and I think it did pass at 89 or 87. Next is move on to your memory clock offset. Some people have been getting crazy high memory clock offsets. I kind of looked at what was on the Oris card and what was kind of stable as far as pushing the limit, and then what other people on YouTube had, and decided that the memory wasn't super important. It's important because I want it to be fast as it can be, but I don't want to go overboard. You can see right here, this is my overclock profile, which I saved to profile 2 by right clicking on it twice. And also you can see over here, as you can see, my voltage is 100%. So move these two up, get your GPU clock locked into where it seems stable and you like it at. You know, I mean, you may not care that it's at 88 or 89, and it may be stable and you're just happy with that. Next is, once that's locked in, test your memory and see how far you can push your memory. Now my memory, I can push it probably further. I just got tired of testing, to tell you the truth, and I know that this is above what the Oris would do on the memory, so I'm happy with it. Okay, with the voltage still not moved up like here, have it all locked in, save the profile, right click on one of the other profiles. I would use not 1 but 2 or 3 or something like that. Keep 1 for where you're going to want the GPU to be 24/7, because I'm going to show you something else in a minute. Okay, now go ahead and take your voltage and take it up to 100%, rerun all your benchmarks, and it's probably going to be stable at that point. For some reason, anything I did with GPU and memory clock offset and left the voltage where it's at, if I tried to push the GPU further, it wouldn't happen. But increasing the voltage actually got me up to 2063, 2076, I think 2088 crashes on this card. And then this is pretty much my max overclock, almost. I mean, I can actually game with Battlefield all day long with that profile. But I plan on keeping this card for a little while, and my gains from this amount of an overclock to my profile 1, which you can see is a little bit safer and a little less demanding. Plus it is summertime, my temperatures are going to spike up more. This is where I left it at for profile 1, and that's what I game at. And I don't see much of a frame rate increase from overclocking the card to my overclock profile to my gaming profile is basically what I have. So there's a couple other things too here that I want to go over. Is that I noticed that when I watched Jay's 2 cents, he talked about this item right here. I'm going to show you. And what it is it is preferred maximum power. And I clicked it and didn't even really, you know, because I watched what he said. And to tell you the truth, if you click that, your GPU is going to be running pretty much max whatever the default overclock is on the card 24/7. I don't want that. My system's idling, I'm not playing. I want to let my GPU cool down and relax, right? So I probably would change this only for when you're going to do your overclocking. Get that load on there, get those temperatures on there, and go for your overclock, and you know, pound that card hard, and pound it for your first 30 days or 25 days or 20 days as hard as you can to make sure there's no defective circuits or MOSFETs or any problems in the card, so you can return it back to the manufacturer and get a card quicker than if you have to wait all the way till you have to RMA it to the manufacturer. But I use optimal power, and I like that because what will happen is that typically, I don't know why it's not dropping down right now, but it could just be something buggy in the software. Their software is a little bit buggy. Normally this should go down to about, I don't know. Oh, I know why it's up. It's up because I got shadow play on right now. I tend to forget about that. Shadow play will make it run at that setting. It's not going to boost it up to 2000 plus megahertz like it will in Battlefield or gaming, but it will keep the GPU clock boosted up, like the same as if I had performance mode going in the NVIDIA drivers. I don't know, I felt like that was a pretty good idea, way to explain things and show you how to go ahead and just kind of push, go ahead and work this up first on the GPU clock, then go to memory clock and work with that. Then once that's all done, go to your voltage, and you should be 100% stable. If you can get these stable, everything's good. Push that to 100%, that should be stable. If these are stable, this is 100%, and for some reason on your card it is not stable, take it down to from 100 to 75, then go from 75 to 50. But this should help you get your maximum overclock profile and everything on your card a lot sooner if you kind of stay within these parameters and follow those guidelines versus moving things back and forth and playing with things, because it seems like certain things, if they're overclocked too far, will affect other things. Now you can see what I have as far as my profiles, how my profiles are saved, and I only have two. I have the overclock profile and I have my gaming profile. Another thing on settings in here is that this little guy right here is when you do go in, if you go ahead and save these, like right here, 2D and 3D is both saved at my profile 1. You're going to want to have that not assigned. If you click a little arrow, you can click not assigned, not assigned. I recommend having that not assigned till you get all your overclocking done, because what can happen is that I can pick this profile, and when my profiles are assigned, for some reason I'm trying to overclock with this profile, I don't know if it's a bug in the software or what, it will put it back to this profile while I'm trying to do overclocking testing. But that's only if I have the profiles assigned. If they're unassigned, it will stay where I want it to stay. Alright guys, this has been Advanced with Tag Gaming. Hopefully that video, I know, is a little bit rambling on, a little bit history and story, but I felt like that it was kind of needed. I don't know, like it, dislike it. Hopefully it'll help you out, and I'll talk to you guys later.